I did a funeral once. We're standing at the graveside. 50 yards off is the grandson of the deceased. He can't come any closer. He's pacing back and forth. You can feel the anxiety in him. After the burial, I went to him and I asked how he was doing. He buried his head in his chest and walked away. He was supposed to go back to the church for the memorial service, and he was supposed to sit with the family, but he never showed. What I experienced in just the minutes of being around him was some of the most palpable pain that I've ever been around. He was out of control. He couldn't stand still. He couldn't be present. He couldn't deal with the pain of the moment, and he literally ran from it. There's no way this grandson was connected to his soul or experiencing spirituality in that moment. He was so fractured by the pain, he chose to run away. Now, this is an unfair critique because I really don't know the man. But what I do know is we, good and faithful Christians, do the same thing all the time. We flee from our pain. We run. We mask. We cover up anything that introduces pain because we aren't taught how to handle it. Israel was, though. Life taught them. Being excommunicated from your promised land, captured into slavery by the Babylonians, seeing your city burned and your families torn apart, left to eke out an existence other than what was promised by God. Israel had pain. They had all the pain. Yet it's in the shadows of this bitter and battered past that we get Psalm 130. It's a masterclass in teaching us how to respond to pain. This individual lament, it teaches us how to bring our pain before God. Just look, verse 1. Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Right out of the gate, the psalmist cries out from the darkest, gross, shadowy parts of him. And we can learn from this. If we want to connect to God with our soul, if we want to take a deep dive into spirituality, we're going to have to make room for pain. We're going to have to learn to speak from it, which means we have to engage it. And this is not easy. When you reopen old wounds, the pain floods you. But if you're willing to walk through it, you'll be led to God. I think the psalmist believed this when he sang this in verses 3 and 4. If you, O Lord, should mark iniquities, Lord, who could stand? But there is forgiveness with you, so that you may be revered. If we're judged only for our shortcomings and pains and failures, then none of us could stand. But thankfully we're not. When we bring our pain to God, it's not met by condemnation, but forgiveness. And this may be the most important thing for us to hear. Too often we let our egos cover up our pain because we fear if we acknowledge them and expose them, if we give them space, then God won't like it, God won't forgive it. And that's just simply not true. What Psalm 130 teaches us is when we bring our pain to God, our soul connects with a forgiving God. It's in our returning that we discover forgiveness. So how do we do it? How do we return our pain to God? Verses 5 and 6. I wait for the Lord. My soul waits, and in his word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than those who watch for the morning, more than those who watch for the morning. This is how we do it. We wait. We let our soul wait. We give space for our soul to feel the pain, and we wait knowing that we're giving it to God. But this is easier said than done. Often we're so riddled on the fault lines of fear and shame, our inner world gets too dark to wait. Shame is something very present in our lives, and it masquerades unseen, making us feel like we're the problem and a constant failure. When we get to these dark places, the last thing we want to do is work through the pain. It's easier just to cover it up. But working through it is how we get to God. And this seems backwards, but guess what happens when we do this hard work? We're blessed. And this is why the psalmist says that we wait upon the Lord. If you look at the superscription of the psalm, you'll read it as a psalm of ascent. There are a handful of these in the Psalter. These are individual songs that are sung as Israel climbs Mount Zion on their way to worship corporately in the temple. I love this. To prepare our soul to connect with God, we cry out in the shadows of our pain. We acknowledge it, and this prepares our soul to wait on the Lord in worship. It's as if the Israelites knew that God can heal our pain. We just have to take it to God and wait. And one great way we do this is a consistent, ardent rhythm of worship. Strength rises when we wait on the Lord. And when we worship, our soul connects and we experience the grace of God's forgiveness. And when we do, we learn to sing as the psalmist sings. For with the Lord there is a steadfast love, and with him is great power to redeem. It is he who will redeem us from all our iniquities. Redemption happens when we take our pain to God. Imagine that.